All right, so let's look at one of the questions on this worksheet. More specifically, what I have in mind is this one right here. Speed limit on highways in the United States is 65 miles an hour. Let's convert it to kilometers an hour and meters per second. So in order to handle a question like this, and I'll do it on a separate sheet of paper since this gives me more space this way. Let's see, there we go. Okay. And set the focus. Okay, that should help. You need to understand that it's really important to pay attention to the units that's being asked for. So for 65 miles an hour, we got to understand that 65 miles per hour can be written like that. That helps us a lot with how to deal with this, because what we need to do is essentially take miles per hour and get to kilometers per hour. So the nice thing about that is you don't need to change the bottom unit, only the top. And there is an easy relationship between miles and kilometers. It's, let's see, where can we find it? Right here. You can use either of these. 1 kilometer is 0.614 miles, or 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. I'll use this one. A mile is 1.61 kilometers. So we can just simply convert from miles to kilometers so that miles cancels miles, and you have kilometers on top and hours on the bottom, kilometers per hour. They'll give you a number, that's kilometers per hour. So anyway, the relationship, according to that chart, 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, so that means 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. And let's make it clear that that's a 6, so okay. Grab the calculator and try it out. Let's see, where can we get this so it's all visible on the screen? Okay, so 65 times 1.61, 104.65. 104.65 kilometers an hour. That's the unrounded number. Now, this is 2 significant figures. That's 3 significant figures because 3 sig figs, different measuring systems. Because they're different measuring systems, they're not infinite sig figs. They're not definition. This is rounded for your convenience, just like the number pi goes on forever. This actually goes on forever. It's merely rounded to 3 sigs for your convenience. So, but anyway, that doesn't matter because this is 2 significant figures. So because of that, this needs to be 2 sig figs, which means you need to round right here, first sig fig, second sig fig. So 100, except 100 is 1 sig fig. This is 3 sig figs, so we're going to say 1.0 times 10 to the second, kilometers per hour. Because we're rounding right here, second sig fig. You're rounding round here. And because you round right there with 2 sig figs, you need to make it 100, but the number 100 has 1 sig fig, so you can't do that. The number 100 with the decimal has 3 sig figs, so you can't do that. This is the only way to get it with 2 sig figs. So 1.0 times 10 to the second kilometers an hour. That's 100, but with 2 sig figs. Okay, so that's the first half of the question. So that's kilometers per hour. Now for the second one, meters per second. So let's start back with 65 miles an hour again. But you could be like, oh, well, why don't I just use this? You could, but you just make sure not to use the rounded answer. You only want to round once. So this isn't rounded. You could use this, but not all questions will allow it to be so easy, and then you have to round off and introduce error into the calculation. So it's better to just start from the beginning again. So miles per hour somehow has to get to meters per second. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take miles per hour and, well, let's see. On the top, I'm going to do miles. I'm going to turn to kilometers, and then kilometers can be turned into meters. For the bottom one, hours can be turned into minutes, and minutes can be turned into seconds. So we're basically going to do 2 conversions, one for the top units and one for the bottom units. So let's see what that's going to look like. 65 miles per hour. It doesn't matter which one I do first. I can do the top unit or the bottom unit first. So I'll start with the top unit just because. Miles to kilometers to meters. So that's 1, 2 conversions. So from miles to kilometers, there's your miles to kilometers. Miles cancel. And from kilometers to meters. So from kilometers to meters. Kilometers cancel. Meters will now be part of the final unit. Now let's do the bottom ones. From hours to minutes. Okay. Oh, don't put hours on the bottom yet. Look, hours is down here. If you want hours to cancel, it's got to go up here, which means minute goes down here. So hours goes up here to cancel this unit, and minutes goes in the other place. And then we got to go from minutes to seconds. So from minutes to seconds. Let's see. So hours cancel hours. Minutes cancel minutes, leaving meters on top and seconds on the bottom, which is exactly what the question's asking for. It's asking for meters per second. Great. Now I can actually fill that in. How many miles per kilometer, kilometers per mile? Look up on the reference chart. Miles, 1.61 kilometers. 1.61 kilometers per mile. From meters to kilometers. Find that here. Kilo means 1,000. So the number 1,000 goes next to the small unit. 1,000 meters is big, so this is the small unit, so the big number goes next to the small unit. Let's see. 1 hour is 60 minutes. 1 minute is 60 seconds. So basically I'm going to do all those calculations and see what it spits out. So let's see. 65 times 1.61 times 1,000 equals, divided by 60 equals, divided by 60 equals. And that's the final number, 29.09 blah, blah, blah. How many sig figs? This is infinite sig figs, infinite sig figs, infinite sig figs, 3 sig figs, infinite significant figures, 3 significant figures, right here, 3 sig figs, and this is only 2 sig figs, so we got to round to 2 significant figures. So you take this number, round it to 2 sig figs, 29, leave it at 29. So it'll be 29 meters per second. That would be the final answer for this right here, the limit in SI base units of meters per second. Right there, 29 meters per second. All right, so that's how you handle those sorts of things when you're converting 2 units instead of just 1.